Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the second of our semi-annual career readiness seminars on transitioning from the military to a new career. I thank you all for being here on time. With me today is going to be in my second chair is another career coach, Taylor Sparber. So if you do see anything from her popping up in the chat, she is a career coach. That is somebody who knows what's going on, and the things she shares are things that we do want you to look at. Okay. I am going to ask you all to please hold your questions until the end because I may very well get to your questions as we go through this process. And when we get to the end, there will be a section for questions and answers, at which time myself and Taylor will be reviewing the chat and making sure that we can answer as many questions as possible, okay? If your question does seem to be more appropriate to a coaching session, we will definitely let you know that, and we will have the contact information at the end, so you'll know how to get in touch with one of us career coaches here. My name is Rachel Dhaliwal. I'm one of your senior career coaches, and I am a Marine veteran. I served 5 years, many, many moons ago, and then was also married to he was a sailor at first and then became a Marine later. And he retired a few years ago after 22 years in the military. So to say that I have been in your position transitioning from the military is an accurate statement. I have been there. We are having this service today because I don't want you to have the same experience I did, which is to say I was not prepared at all. That was absolutely my fault. I was not prepared, and I don't want you all to have that same experience. So hopefully today you guys are going to get some great information, know where to go to get some resources. Maybe if you have questions that aren't answered by the end of it, we can definitely put you together with a coach and get you on the right track, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can get through this and get to that questions and answers session at the end. I believe I said Taylor is going to be sharing some links in the chat as they come up. Please do capture those, but please do pay attention to what I'm saying until we get through the end of it because I don't want you to miss anything, okay? Thank you all. All right, very briefly, just to touch on the agenda, because who doesn't have, a PowerPoint session or, a briefing like this and not cover the agenda, right? We're going to start off talking about timeline. What do you need to keep in mind? How soon do you need to start? All the things, okay? Research. We're going to be spending a lot of time today talking about research and resources and things to look for and strategies and things of that nature, because research is going to be so critical to you gaining the knowledge that you need and making yourself more marketable and more flexible and able to pivot more easily towards something that is going to help you, okay? We are going to touch briefly on crafting a resume. That is a whole different webinar to go all the way through it. We do occasionally have those webinars throughout the year. At the end of this, we are going to be sharing our events page where you can look for those webinars as we post them, okay? So know that that's available as well. I'm also going to tell you about some webinars that are outside of American Public University and American Military University where you can learn more about crafting a resume, okay? We'll briefly touch on networking, give you some ideas for that, things to keep in mind, and as promised, there will be a question and answer session at the end. So think of your questions, have them written down, and let us know what those are when we get to that point. Thank you. Okay, so starting with the timeline, okay? We recommend that you start this research and the job searching and learning about what you want to be when you are finished with your military experience no later than 1 year out from the end of your active service. If you are already within that 1 year, please do not panic. You have coaches here. We would absolutely love to help you. There are also so many free resources and programs for veterans and transitioning military. So 1 year out is ideal, but do not panic if you find yourself closer to that. There are resources to help you, okay? Within this 1 year or wherever you find yourself, if you're still on active duty or in touch with somebody who is and can get this information for you, we strongly recommend that you collect your fit reps, your performance evaluations, anything that talks about what you know how to do, how well did you do it, what were you recommended for, are you the expert in the thing, all of that nature. Okay, so fit reps, performance evaluations, whatever your service calls it, award citations. okay? Because you're going to get awards. It's going to happen. It's important that you remember the wording or you have that stuff in there because sometimes they'll provide details that over time you may forget, right? You have a lot of different experiences, and as the years yawn, you do kind of forget some details, okay? So get a hold of those award citations if you can. And then I just kind of threw this general other paperwork thing in here because I'm thinking of things like your joint services transcripts, okay? Again, I was a Marine. Those who take MCIs, I'm sure equivalent things are available in the other services, okay? You want to have any kind of tracking, any kind of documents that's going to help you remember the trainings you attended, the corporals courses, the, staff NCO courses, things of that nature. Again, because this is going to come into play in your resumes, in your job search, in your interviews. So please collect this stuff right now while you still have the time to be able to do it. No later than 1 year out is also a good time to start networking, okay? And like I said before, we are going to go into networking later on, but just keep this in mind. Start letting people know when you're going to transition and kind of what you're looking for and where you're going to be at looking for it, okay? You never know when something is going to crack wide open for you, and you never know who is going to provide that for you, okay? So start networking, start asking around, okay? Something else that you need to pay attention to is the degree selection, okay? Presumably all, if not, most, if not all of you, have already selected a degree. You're in it or you're completing it. You're somewhere in the degree process program, okay? If you have not researched your degree to make sure it's going to do the thing you want it to do, please do that, okay? Go out and collect job descriptions for the job that you want to do and compare and contrast them. If all of them are asking for a bachelor's degree, but they don't tell you what it's in, you can probably just have a bachelor's degree in the thing that blows your hair back, and that will probably be okay. But if all of them say you need a bachelor's degree in IT management, then you know that that's a little bit more important and a little bit more specific, okay? So definitely research how well received your degree may be by those employers, okay? And you always want to go to those employers. Those are your best resource for knowing what's my degree going to do, what degree do they want to have, because those people are your buyers. They are buying you. They are buying your experience and your education, okay? Ask them, or like I said, collect those job descriptions and compare and contrast them, okay? In selecting a degree, there are some considerations you should be making. Financing, obviously. Are you going to use TA if you're still active duty? What type of GI Bill are you going to use afterwards? Are you giving it to your spouse or kids? How long is your degree going to take to complete, and how much time do you have to do it? Methodology here refers to, obviously here at APUS, we're 100% online, but some people just don't do that well in online schooling, and that is okay, but it's important that you know that. Some people, yours truly included, are just not great at certain subjects. So were I to be a 100% online student, which I have done in the past, I would definitely take math. Anything with numbers, I am personally going to take that in person, and that is an option for you to do, okay? So just pay attention to that. Make sure that you are achieving the kind of education that you are going to learn the most from, you personally, okay? You also want to look into additional requirements that may be required. There can be prerequisites and things of that nature. So definitely look into that. If you're not sure about those sorts of things, those are great conversations to be had with academic advising, okay? Career change. You are making a career change whether or not you are going to stay in what your MOS is. Okay, so you may be getting out and doing exactly the same thing you did in the military, still a career change because now you're doing it outside of the military. There are, as you might imagine, many differences, even cultural differences between working in the military and working outside the military. Okay, so you need to do some research. You need to look at the employers who you are interested in and scour their website. Look for news articles about them. Okay, anything you can find out about the industry and the employers that you want to work for is going to give you an idea, kind of some expectations. What is their culture like? What is their mission like? Is that something that matches well with you? I've worked with students in the past. I am one of the security and global studies coaches. So I've worked with students in the past who are interested in federal law enforcement. Guess what? Federal law enforcement is not all same, as you might imagine. They have very different missions, and sometimes that mission or that culture doesn't match you, and that's okay. But you need to know that before you spend years kind of leaning towards that, um, and then have it not work out the way that you expected. Okay. So definitely you need to do this research. Okay. So, like I said, we are going to spend some time about research, so it got its own title page. Okay. Job market. And I want to start off by talking about creating a filing system because, again, I have been coaching for 8 years. I always recommend a filing system because, you guys, I have coached students in the past who have gone on to an interview and they have no idea what they're interviewing for because they applied to many different companies and they got some responses back and they don't know what they're actually interviewing for. And please don't be that person. Okay, that's going to be terrible for you. So create a filing system. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it should look like because we all have different brains. Okay, so whatever's going to work for you, please start off with a filing system so that you can keep track of yourself, your applications, the job descriptions that you find and save. Okay, very important. So search the job market in your desired area. So some of you may be returning to your home, okay? Still search the job market. It has changed. Whether you've been in the military for 3 years or 23 years, the job market is always changing. So search that job market in your desired area, okay? Especially for those of you who may be settling down somewhere else, okay? You want to have an idea of what's kind of the major industries in those areas, right? It would be terrible if you really wanted to get into the seafood hatching and distribution industry and you were settling down in the deserts of Arizona here with me. Okay. So definitely make sure of what the industries are so you can get an idea of kind of, what's the reality of that dream job of yours. Okay. Yes, everybody is thinking the larger employers, right? We think Amazon, we think of the large federal contractors and things like that, but please do not forget about the smaller employers. At every single one of our virtual career fairs, of course, we have many large, amazing employers, but we also have several smaller employers, and they are just as amazing. Please stop by and check them out in our virtual career fairs and the other career fairs you go to, but also check them out in the area where you want to settle. You may very well find that you get a higher salary or you get better benefits or you get a higher position because it is with a smaller employer. So don't forget about those smaller employers, okay? The Occupational Outlook Handbook is one of those resources that I wanted to recommend to you. And so Taylor should be dropping that into the chat. So go ahead and capture that, but please listen, okay? The Occupational Outlook Handbook is hosted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You can go in there, there's a search box right at the top. You put in your desired job title. It's going to pop up a page with a lot of tabs across the top that's going to have some excellent information for you and some excellent resources. Those tabs include things like how to become one. It's a very introductory, here's kind of the education you need, here's kind of the experience level you need, and it will give you some of those initial resources, okay? One of the other tabs I want to call your attention to is something called state and area data. That's where you can go and see what the job market is like for the thing you want to do in the state and area where you want to do the thing. Okay, so that's an excellent resource for you. There is more to OOH. I could talk about it all day, but I want to get you guys through this thing and familiar with the other resources as well, such as Career One Stop. Okay, Career One Stop partners with American Job Centers, and every state will have an American Job Center. They will have several if you're very, very lucky. If you are the type of person who would benefit from working with a person in person, you could go to an American Job Center for that career assistance, okay? But on careeronestop.org, where Taylor's sharing that, you are going to find resources and links and education and all sorts of things. You can explore careers, you can find training, you can do your job search through there, you can find local help, local training. those things as well, okay? If you scroll down when you're on that page, you will also see under that they have a list of their sites. So in addition to Career One Stop, they have things like the Credentials Center, Get My Future, My Skills, My Future, where you can put in your skills and learn some things about what kinds of jobs want those skills. There is also a section of Career One Stop that is dedicated directly to veterans and, of course, their family members, okay? But it's called Veterans, all right? So Career One Source, excellent website for you to go to and spend some time on. Also keep in mind, because it is so excellent and awesome, it is large and there's a lot of things you can do there, okay? So if you find yourself getting lost, absolutely reach out for some help, okay? So that's Career One Stop. Keep an eye also on the business section of the local media for the area where you want to end up. And I know this may sound a little old school. You might be picturing the newspaper and you're looking for job announcements in the newspaper. What I mean by this, by all means, definitely do that. Do anything that it takes to find a job, okay? But what I want you to pay attention to also with this business section of the local media is get an idea, again, for what the market is like. Maybe there's going to be a new facility being built within the year that you are going to be transitioning, okay? But they don't necessarily have the information out there and available for that particular facility just yet. But knowing that Amazon or, Facebook data center or something like that is coming to your area still poises you to know, to be able to do that research ahead of time and maybe start making connections with some recruiters who may be in that area and see if you can get ahead of the wave of everybody else's interests, okay? The business section can also tell you about major accomplishments of employers. So when you are in your interview, you can talk about, hey, congratulations, I saw recently where you got the, $2 million contract for the thing with the guy, okay? So keep an eye on the business section of the local media, okay? Because you can get a lot of great information from them too. As well as the Chamber of Commerce, okay? The Chamber of Commerce is the local government. They oftentimes will have networking events, other kinds of shindigs. They will do some business promotions, especially for small businesses, things of that nature. So don't forget about the Chamber of Commerce in the area where you want to settle down in. That could very well be some great resources there for you. Okay, let's move on. So job titles, okay, something I want you all to make note of with job titles if you haven't discovered it on your own yet, okay, they can be different between the employers. Some employers like to be cute, some employers like to just kind of have their own style, and some employers, they follow what everybody else does, okay? So as you are doing this research and within that filing system that I recommended that you make, keep note of the different job titles for the same type and level of job that you want to do, because this is a great way to expand that job search. If you are constantly looking for IT manager and you didn't consider a different job title to put in, you might be selling yourself short. You might not be getting all of the returns on open jobs that you think you could. Okay, so definitely make note of the different job titles so that you kind of have, several options for searching. Okay. If you're not sure what some of those other job titles can be, a great place to get that information is ONET Online. And Taylor's going to drop that link in the chat for you. ONET has a lot of excellent information as well. Okay, so ONET Online, in addition to the thing, the expanding the job titles, there's a lot of other things that they do. They do have a veterans section as well. Called My Next Move. So you can do a lot of things specifically as veterans with ONET Online, but many of the other things it has is for everybody, okay? They have different crosswalks to figure out how to get from here to there. They have, you can search things according to Bright Outlook, or let's say you kind of want to do this job, but really something maybe to the left or the right of it. You can research their career clusters that they offer there. So your job, but you want to do something that's related, but not the same thing. You could search by career cluster. Okay. So ONET is an excellent resource for that. But germane to this particular job title subject, ONET can be a place where you put in the job title you're interested in. It's going to come back with lots of introductory information about it. There at the top, it's going to give you some of the other job titles that they have seen in the past or have had reported to them. Okay. ONET is part of it is sponsored by the US Department of Labor. So it is also something that is reliable and not, a website set up in somebody's basement somewhere. Okay. So ONET is excellent for that, for expanding that job search and for learning more about those sorts of things and doing interests and skills and all the things. So ONET is excellent as well. Okay. Job boards. Definitely search different types of job boards. Okay, so there are the general job boards. You're obviously, thinking of Indeed or ZipRecruiter. On those job boards, I hope that you all know that you can set up a search so that you can be notified when things come in. So not only are you actively doing your job search when you're in there and plugging things in, but if you set up that search to be notified about things, that's a passive job search, which is really wonderful. Okay. Side note, very, very quickly, if on those job boards you are feeling froggy and you post your resume, please do not include your street address on that for safety reasons. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you're going to post your resume publicly, you can just put city and state. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. Another job board that is available to you all, our students and our alumni. So every single person who has graduated from AMU or APU, whether that be a certificate program all the way up to our doctoral program. Once you are an alum, you have access to career services for the rest of your life. And that includes our university job board. That includes our virtual career fairs. That includes all the trainings that I mentioned earlier that we're going to have throughout the year. Okay. So if you are about to graduate and you're feeling a little hot under the collar because you need to hurry up and talk to us and get help, that's not actually the case. Once you've graduated, you do still have career services eligibility. Please reach out to us. We would be happy to help you. Okay. There are also industry-specific job boards. For those of you who are in the IT and technical et al. Field, dice.com is an example of an industry-specific job board. So that's dice.com, like you roll the dice when you're playing Monopoly. Dice.com. Okay. Obviously, do your due diligence because, sometimes things, no matter the website, no matter the job board, sometimes things aren't exactly the amazing awesomeness that it appears to be. So everybody always do that due diligence. Okay. Another industry-specific job board that can be found, or places where you can look for those industry-specific job boards, can be professional organizations, okay? One of the organizations that I am familiar with through the kinds of coaching I do is the International Association of Emergency Managers. So for those of you interested in Homeland Security, EDM, things like that, IAEM.org, they do have a public-facing job board. But that's an example just kind of for everybody. So no matter what industry you're going into, go find your professional organizations and go see if you can access their job board publicly. This is a great way to also get an idea of what are the different job titles out there. What are the different things that you can do within your industry of interest, because there may be something out there you've just never even considered. And there it is. It would be amazing for you. Okay. And then finally, obviously, employers. If you do have an employer you're targeting, definitely spend time on their job board, set up a reminder to go back to it often if they aren't the type of job board that also has the notification. Some employers will also kind of have a resume bank where you can just join their talent pool. You may see that. That's what that is. Okay, so tailor a resume for, generally speaking, the kind of role you want to have and go ahead and put it into their talent pool, and hopefully you get a call back at some point. Okay, so that's another passive thing that you can do. And then LinkedIn. Okay, excuse me. So LinkedIn, yes, you can search for jobs on LinkedIn, but I put this here because what I want you to do is, let's say during your research you find out that the thing you want to do is maybe 2 or 5 years ahead of you. Maybe it's too far ahead of you right now for the qualifications that you have. Go onto LinkedIn and search for people who have that job. Then look at what they did before. What was the job or two they had before the job that you want to do? Those are potential feeder roles. Maybe those jobs are within your reach today. Okay, so if you're going out there and you're finding that something is just a little too far for you, go on LinkedIn, find somebody who is doing that job or did it in the past and look at what they did before. Don't just focus on their jobs, though. You also want to look at their education prior to that job. You want to look at their training, their certifications. Maybe they took some online courses, some MOOCs and stuff like that. Okay. So you can use LinkedIn to expand the job title search, but also to find out how do you get into the job you want to do if the one you want to do is a little bit further away for you. Okay. All right.
Hey, Ray, you're doing a
Yes,
great
ma'am.
job.
Thank you.
What was that link you want me to drop in the chat again?
For ONET.
I thought you
Put
said
ONET in there, please.
ONET's in there.
Okay.
Okay.
All
I just wanted to make
right.
sure. I thought you said another one. I wanted to make sure I was on the same page, giving these students the right resources.
Yes, ma'am. I super appreciate it. Yes, we do have some links coming up, but we're not quite there yet.
Perfect. Just making sure I didn't miss one. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, y'all. So we're going to switch over from job titles. So another way that you can search for jobs is by qualifications. Okay, Taylor, here's your chance. Okay, the program specific career resource guide. That's that acronym you see there underneath degree icon there. Okay, here at APUS, we career coaches got together and we put together some program specific career resource guides for our more popular degrees. So the ones that we interact with a lot here at Career Services. Okay, so those guides are a good intro. It's a taste of, here are some resources. Here's a handful of the professional organizations. Here's something you need to consider when pursuing a job within this industry, those sorts of things. So that's a great place to kind of launch that research. Okay, everybody has access to that. It is even it's public facing to the outside. So if you have a friend and you just kind of want to help them out, program specific career resource guides, they can look at that. Okay. On that same page, though, that other ridiculously long acronym there stands for what can I do with this major? That is another program resources guide, but that is hosted. It has been created by and is hosted by a university different from us. The thing is, they did such a bang up job that rather than reinventing the wheel, we have reached out to them and we paid for the subscription access to that so that our students and alumni can access that information for free. So because that is a subscription, you do have to be logged into your eCampus in order to be able to access the what can I do with this major. Okay. Again, it's a different university, so they're not going to always have every last degree program that we have here. And they do have degree programs listed there that we don't actually have. Okay. So that is something for you to keep in mind with what can I do with this major? Excellent resource, but yeah, it's going to be somewhat a little bit different from everything that we have here. Okay. You can search for jobs, federal jobs. Those of you interested in federal on usajobs.gov, you can actually even search by degree. You can Google this. They do have a list of jobs by degree. They can give you some job titles that you can start off with. Okay. So for those of you interested in federal, just know that you can do that as well. You can search by college major on usajobs.gov. Licenses or certifications. Okay, so some occupations require one or both of these. Okay, the sooner you know that, the better off you are going to be forever and ever and ever. Okay, because there are differences with these, and there are certain qualifications, and there are certain state requirements or industry requirements that makes them different. So you have to do the research on these things to know what your state is going to require of you to do the thing you want to do. Okay. I have Cert v. Cert listed there because I want to make you aware of something that is very, very important to understand. There is a difference between a university certificate and an industry certification. Okay. And in a university certificate is 6-ish courses. It's an academic deep dive into a particular topic. Okay. It shows interest in that topic. You're going to get a kind of an intensive education on that particular topic. And that is what it is. You do not have to do anything else with it once you have completed it. In fact, some people don't even mention their concentration on their resume, especially if it's not germane to the role that they're specifically applying for, okay? Their concentration or the certificate that they're taking, okay? An industry certification, on the other hand, requires you to sit for an exam. It requires X number of hours of real world working experience. And for many of them, you have to retake it after X number of years. It is a very, very different thing. It has different implications from a university certificate. So if you are in a certificate program here, do not write certification on your resume because you are inadvertently misrepresenting yourself, and I don't want that to happen to you. Okay, so that's my soapbox on Cert v. Cert. Okay, if you need any more clarification on that, please do feel free to reach out to us. Okay. Something else that you may be interested in as veterans and transitioning service members is Onward to Opportunity. And you can look it up that way. You can look up Syracuse University IVMF. Onward to Opportunity is a program where they will cover the cost of one industry certification for those who qualify, okay? As you might imagine, it's more involved than what I am telling you right this minute, so please take the time to go out and look at that and be very, very familiar with it. Remember, it is only the cost of one certificate or certification, sorry. So you definitely want to make sure that you've done the research, that job titles, looking at the job descriptions, and that you know that that's the certification you need, which is going to help you. Yes, and I just saw in the chat where somebody did an endorsement for OTO. Thank you very much for sharing that. Onward to Opportunity is an excellent thing for you all to take a look at, okay? You can also search for jobs by experience, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about transferable experience and the difference between directly and indirectly, okay? This is important also because when you guys are talking about your resumes and stuff like that, what I find is very common is people get hung up about specifics. So if a job description asks for you to have experience with writing reports for, I don't know, TPS reports, okay? And you've never seen a TPS report in your entire life outside of Office Space, the movie, haha. But in your roles, you have written all sorts of reports that had nothing to do with TPS. You still have indirect transferable experience because you can still talk about your report writing experience. Please do that, okay? This is where this topic comes up often in my conversations with students and alumni. We as humans tend to undersell ourselves. We tend to go, well, that's my duty on Tuesday. I do that every Tuesday. That's my responsibility. You're right. But for an employer or a recruiter looking at you from the outside, they're going, you know what? That's really amazing. Yeah, I could use somebody with that kind of experience. So it's important to not devalue yourself. And if you feel that you might be doing that, again, reach out to us career coaches. We're very good at making you see your value. So reach out to us if you need that help, okay? So transferable, whether it is directly or indirectly, you can look up job titles and opportunities by that. Some great ways to get more experience while you are still in lat move. If you have the ability and the opening to do a lat move, maybe that is the thing for you to do, okay? If you have served in a billet previously, or there is a billet available and you kind of don't want to do it, maybe consider still, would that billet provide you some qualifications once you are finished with your military service that would help make you a more qualified candidate, okay? Some other ideas, project or program management, basically any industry out there is going to have projects, they're going to have programs. Can you take on some more responsibilities and duties to get that kind of experience, okay? Internships and fellowships, especially for those of you who are still in school, but for those of you who have finished within the last 2 years, especially for the federal government, the 2 years recent graduate timeline applies, okay? If during that time you were also a student and you were in the military, it may extend up to 6 years if you had military service during that time, okay? So definitely look into those sorts of things for federal government, okay? Internships and fellowships. So recent graduates program, 2 years for most everybody, 6 years for veterans who served. Take a look at that, okay? Kind of the same idea with apprenticeships and boot camps. Those resources I gave you earlier, specifically the American Job Center, the Career One Stop, you can look for apprenticeships and boot camps and things like that on that website. So that's a place where you can look at it. Apprenticeships can also be the sort of thing you just go and ask for. Internships are kind of the same way. Sometimes they can do that. Sometimes employers can. So even if they don't have one advertised, it's always worth asking. Okay, maybe they build one specifically for you, which would be stellar, but also maybe that would make them start having them more. Okay. SkillBridge, PMF program, Amazon Web Service, Vet Tech by Skillstorm. These are all different examples of programs that can help you to get more experience. The PMF program is open to graduate students and above. There are more stipulations to it, but just kind of generally speaking, graduate students and above. SkillBridge, AWS, Vet Tech also have their own requirements. Definitely check these all out if they seem like something that would be helpful to you. SkillBridge, really super awesome, you guys, especially for those of you who have more than 180 days or you're coming up on your 180 days left in the service. SkillBridge does some amazing stuff, so definitely check it out, okay? And then finally, gig work and volunteering. Maybe you do need to get some experience. This can also be a really great way to network, okay? Doing some gig work, doing some volunteering. For those of you who are interested in FEMA and other emergency and disaster management, there is a lot of volunteering you can do, okay? That can help put you in front of these industry professionals and start getting some of this experience. So think of gig work and volunteering as well, okay? Let's see where we go next. Crafting your resume. All right. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because, like I said, we do have webinars, we do have resume guides, we have other resources for you. I'm going to share those on the next slide or two. But let's talk a little bit about resumes. Okay. There is a difference. There is a lot of differences between a private sector resume and a federal resume. If you did not know that, guess what? You cannot use one to apply to the other and have it be successful often. Okay, maybe sometimes a little bit, you could use a federal resume in the private sector and maybe they'd still, look at you anyway. In the federal sector, if you are turning in a private sector resume, that does not include the requirements that they need to see, such as the average number of hours worked per week in the job that you held and the start and end month and year of your positions. They cannot give you the credit, so to speak, for your experience. Okay, so it is very important that you understand that there is a difference between the resume expectations for the private sector and the resume expectations for the federal sector. Okay, we do have guides on that. There are webinars you can attend. I promise I will get that information to you. I have put FBI here with a little asterisk because the FBI has their own federal resume format. If you are interested in FBI, go to fbijobs.gov and look for, they've produced a template and a writing guide for their resume. What I have seen in my position here as a career coach is people turning in a federal resume and they go, yeah, I have a federal resume, here you go, and I get it and it's an FBI resume, okay? It might work, but I, as a career coach, feel I'm not doing my job if I don't recommend that you do something else. Okay, don't use the FBI resume for something other than the FBI. Use the resume builder on usajobs.gov, and we'll get into that here in a minute. Okay, so I did kind of go over how to determine which, well, I guess I didn't. Let me be clear. If you are applying to a .gov, if you are applying directly to a federal agency, you will need a federal resume. If you are not applying to a federal agency, obviously it's a private sector. If you are applying to a federal contractor to work on a federal contract for a federal agency, you are employed by the federal contractor that is a private sector resume. Okay, so that's how you determine which one you're going to need, unless, of course, the job description says otherwise. But that's how you determine it. If it is a federal contractor you are working for, you are still using a private sector resume. Okay. Break up your military experience by duty station or billet, whichever fits your personal career progression. Okay. Don't put in there, and I see this often, and it breaks my heart because you guys are really underselling yourselves. You're really hobbling yourselves. Don't put 10 years of experience on there and have it all just be one chunk. because you have experienced so many different things over 10 years. So break it up by duty station or billet. I do see where people will put, deployments in there somewhere where it occurs in the chronology of your experience. Absolutely. Okay. Because by breaking it up like this, you are giving yourself more room to demonstrate the progression of your duties, responsibilities, the progression of your influence within your commands, within your units. Okay. So break your military experience up so that you can talk about those things. Whether it is private sector or federal, do not go back further than 10 years unless you tremendously super have to. But keep in mind that even 10 years ago, things have changed in your industry. Okay, so the employer themselves, and we never know who's going to feel this way and who isn't, the employer may feel that something 10 years or older is a little, maybe out of touch or it's not up to date enough. So whether it's private or federal resume, aim to not go back further than 10 years unless you absolutely have to. Okay, again, gather those fit reps. Consider your accomplishments and achievements. Your ribbons and medals, we'll get into that in just a minute, okay? This is important no matter which resume type you use, okay? The thing that makes a strong argument to hire Scott, okay, is having Scott talk about his accomplishments and achievements. We don't want to know that as a cashier, he counted down the money and he interacted with customers and he scanned groceries across the scanner dealio, okay? What we want to know about Scott is that he was never short on his cash drawer. We want to know that he upsold 15 clients a week and made them buy more things because, of course, employers want you to spend more money, right? Those are accomplishments and achievements. Those are the differences that Scott made to his employer. So whether we are talking private sector or federal, talk about why you. Okay, when you left your role, somebody took over and they're doing the same duties and responsibilities you are. So that doesn't make you different. Okay, you can still share what your duties and responsibilities are when talking about your accomplishments. Like I said, Scott counted down his cash register accurately every single night and was never a single cent short. We still know he had to count down the register, but we know he's really good at it. Okay, so that's the difference. That's how you make a stronger resume. That's how you make a stronger sales pitch for why you and not the 3,000 other people that you got out with who did the same job. Okay, ribbons and medals. I want to spend a second on this one. This one is important to address because I will often see this on, generally the bottom of a resume. It'll go in an award section. It'll just be a listing of ribbons and or medals that the service member earned. Okay. That's only, first of all, if you don't explain what those ribbons and medals are, anybody outside the military, they're going to go, okay, cool, he got awards, she got awards, but we don't know what that's for, okay? So there's that, so you need to consider that. Even still, those of us who do know what they are, we're going to know which ones were the, like your good cookie, okay? You didn't get caught for 3 years, high five, good job, okay? Does that provide an argument to me for why you should be employed by my company? Not necessarily. Okay, but if you got a commendation for going above and beyond and saving your unit $3 million because you rewired the Humvee in a more accurate way that made it work better, that's different. Talk about that. Okay, so if you are going to feature a ribbon or medal on your resume, put something in there about why you got it. Okay, kudos if it's something that is, transferable to the new job. Okay, so keep that in mind. If it's something that just kind of everybody got, it's not necessarily worth its presence on your resume, taking up that resume real estate as something else would be. Okay, an alternative to listing your ribbons and medals on your resume is put them all on your LinkedIn page. Okay, employers are going to go look for you on LinkedIn. They're going to see it if it's there. So go ahead and put them all on your LinkedIn page. Remember, your resume is a marketing document. It's your best, most applicable stuff. They can go out to your LinkedIn profile and see your other things. Okay, so that's my spiel on ribbons and medals. Resumes, there is a difference between master version and tailoring. For those of you who are lucky enough to be skilled at multiple things, you may want to have a master resume that talks about how you know how to do the IT things, but then you may also have a master resume that talks about how you manage people. okay, or program management, things like that, okay? So your master resume can be as long as you want it to be, and that's where you're going to put all the things that are important to the type of role that you want to do, okay? You learn what those are by doing that research we talked about with the job descriptions, okay? But once you go to apply to a specific employer, it is very important that you tailor the resume. If it's a private sector, it needs to be 2 pages or less. Some job descriptions will actually tell you they only want a 1-page resume, so do pay attention, okay? But for those of you who have more work experience than maybe, your first job out of high school, so if you're further along in life than that, 2 pages is almost always okay, all right? So there is definitely a difference between the master version versus tailoring. The master version, yes, that might take more time at the outset to create, but you want to do that because later when you go to tailor, it's just change this out, change this word here, things of that nature. Okay. So that is something to keep in mind with those. I want to spend a few minutes here with resumes because I am sure you guys have all heard you have to translate your resume, but I want to make sure you understand all of the things that entail, or more than probably the one thing you assume, okay? Yes, the military terms, of course. You want to make sure that people understand what you're actually talking about. Keep in mind, even if you are going to be applying to a very veteran-heavy organization, if they weren't in your service, they may still not know what you're talking about, okay? Or, for instance, me, I know what a 2671 was in the Marine Corps because that's what I was, but I don't know what anybody else's means, okay? So like this 31E, Corrections and Detention Special, don't just put 31E on there. Nobody knows what that means, okay? So please come out with it, okay? Tell us what the job title would be, all right? The military terms, we see the platoon sergeant there. Think about what the equivalent would be. Is it supervisor? Maybe it's first line supervisor. Maybe a sergeant major is a district manager. So keep those things in mind as well. You want to give an idea of how large or how many people were you kind of overseeing. Okay, that's why those terms are important. All right. Some things that people forget are language connotations. Okay. There are denotations, which is literally what the word means, but there's also connotations, which are the things you think of when you hear that word. Okay. So for instance, hostile. So engaged with hostiles, engaged with the enemy. Yes, that's what we call it in the military or in a particular unit or something like that. But the connotation behind that starts to lean negative, and we never want a negative anything. We don't want any kind of negative feelings whatsoever, thoughts, questions, concerns, etc. when somebody's reading our resume. So just be aware of that and see if there's a different language you can put it into that does not have a negative connotation. And the obvious acronyms, okay? The military loves acronyms. We all know this. And guess what? Acronyms are not the same even within the military, the same military service. Through different MOSs, okay? It does nobody any good for you to only use an acronym and not explain it. So please, for the first time in your resume that you are going to use an acronym, spell the whole thing out and put the acronym behind it in parentheses. And then from there, you can use the acronym as much as you want, but please spell it out the first time to make sure that your reader understands, okay? All right. Moving on, we're getting closer, you guys. I may have to speed up what I'm talking about. So resources for helping you with your resumes, okay? We have the resume guides. We have a private sector writing guide. We have a federal resume writing guide. And once you have your federal resume in the proper format, we also have a federal resume content writing guide, okay? The first 2 guides I mentioned are available in your student eCampus in the career services section, okay? The tailoring your federal resume one will be given to you from one of us coaches once we see that your federal resume structure doesn't need any more assistance, okay? I mentioned briefly the resume builder on usajobs.gov, okay? usajobs.gov offers free accounts. So when you go on there and you create your account, it's free. Under the documents section, you can find the resume builder. You can build up to 5 resumes and none of them are searchable until you choose one. One can be made searchable, or you can leave all 5 of them behind your private firewall and nobody ever sees them, okay? We always recommend using the resume builder because it is going to take care of the formatting for you so that you are prompted to fill in the information that is required, without which they cannot move you forward in the consideration, okay? The resume Webinars that I'm talking about, this USA Jobs webinars, you can find those on the events page of usajobs.gov. Taylor's going to drop that link in the chat, but should you lose it or want to tell a friend, when you land on the landing page of usajobs.gov, scroll to the bottom, you're going to see 2 featured events and a button underneath it that says more events, and that's where you find it. Okay. They host webinars all the time. They host job fairs, information sessions, all the things. Okay, so please do write it into your mental repertoire that you are going to check out the events page on USA Jobs occasionally. Okay, because they add stuff all the time. Hiration. Hiration is a company that we here have partnered with that helps you in it can help you with your federal resume, but I'm really going to recommend that you stick more to the private sector for Hiration, okay? Hiration has some templates in it, some resume templates. When you go in, you will see that some of those templates are in color, okay? Because that's how the website designed it. When you click on those, though, you do have the option of changing it to just black and white. That is what we recommend. We recommend against the use of color in your resume, mainly because it's just harder for some people to see. Okay, so you want to make sure your resume is the easiest thing for people to read, scan through quickly and go, yep, this one. Okay, so Hiration, that is a link that Taylor dropped into the chat for you. You can build a resume in there. It uses AI to help you to flesh out your bullets some more. And when you are ready, you can also submit that for a resume review by one of us coaches there within the platform, and we'll have that resume back to you in 7 business days or less. Okay. In Hiration, you also have the option of copying and pasting in a job description and having the software compare your resume content to that job description and making recommendations to get you to tailor it more clearly. Okay. Hiration is a wonderful tool, but it is a tool. There is more to resume writing and tailoring and all the things than Hiration can cover. So we do still recommend that you try to reach out to a career coach after you are finished using Hiration to its fullest extent, or if you're lost or if you have questions, please reach out to us. There's more we can help you with on your resume, okay? That's that Career Services Resume Review Program notification you see there. If you have a resume that you've already got it built, you don't want to use Hiration, you are welcome to submit your resume in Word version, please no PDFs, or text files or pictures. Please submit it as an attachment in Word to resumehelp@apus.edu. Please include in the body of that email your first and last name and the answers to 2 of your 3 challenge questions so we can review it right away, rather than spending a day asking you to give us that information. Okay, so those are some resources available to you. Networking. Networking is very, very important. Okay, so I put some ideas in here for you to think about, like how, who, what is networking? How big can I make this networking? Your past and present coworkers, okay, obviously, because they're in your field. You want to let them know, hey, I'm transitioning soon. Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to settle in Arkansas. I'm going to, whatever. Let those coworkers, past and present, know that you're looking for work. Friends and family, same thing. Ask your friends and family to kind of spread the word because somebody knows somebody. Those of you who remember the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game from back in the day, you see that in real time with social media these days. You're going to find out that your friend is friends with somebody else that you were friends with that you would have never known they knew each other. Okay. That's why it's important to let friends and family know as well. LinkedIn, obvious, at least I hope it's obvious. Social media, follow your employers, follow your professional organizations on social media, follow recruiters on LinkedIn and social media because sometimes they're going to post something before it even hits the job board. Okay. And career fairs. At their heart, every single career fair is at the very basic a networking opportunity. So even if it's not an on-the-spot hiring event, or even if you don't get hired that day, you are still networking. You are growing your network. You're finding more people to follow on LinkedIn. You're talking to more people. Okay, so career fairs all the time. Attend them always. Okay, no matter what they're for. Here at APU, AMU, we have themed virtual career fairs, but we want all of you to attend all of them anyway, because the employers are always looking for somebody who does the thing that you do. Okay. Let your network know when you'll be separating, where, and what you would like to do. Okay. Ask them, obviously, if they know of any leads. Those leads could be people. Okay. Ask every single person you talk to when you are networking, do you know of somebody else I could speak to? Or do you have 2 other names you suggest I reach out to? This is how you quantify or exponentialize. Y'all math people, let me know if that's a real word. That's how you grow that network very, very quickly. Ask for some additional networking opportunities from the people you speak to. Okay. Gosh, you guys, I'm getting really close. I will stay after for those of you who do have some questions that you would like to answer. Okay, so I will stay after since I took this whole hour. I'm so sorry. LinkedIn. Change your status to open to work on LinkedIn so that recruiters can see that you are open to work. Okay. Obviously, you want to be clear that, hey, I'm not out until August 1, 2024, but still change your status to open to work and make that known. Okay. There are military transition groups available on LinkedIn. One of the ones I know about that is very large, very active is Veteran Mentor Network. There's no S's in there. Veteran Mentor Network. Check them out. Those are veterans in there. Those are recruiters who are veterans. Those are people who are looking for veterans and family members and things like that. People who've been touched by the military. They post information in there all the time. But just like your experience within the service, remember that sometimes there's the cousin we don't talk to or about until Thanksgiving dinner. So, vet your resources when somebody makes a recommendation in there. Okay. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's a place also where you can network so you can connect with and follow target employers and their recruiters and interest groups. Recruiters change often. Every 2 years, every 4 years, something like that, obviously depending on the person. So you may be connected with a recruiter who works at AT&T today, but next year or 3 years from now, they might be with Booz Allen Hamilton. Okay, so consider your sources. All right, nobody is not helpful to you in some way. All right, just be open-minded. Resources to do some research on LinkedIn is we do have some Success Center articles on preparing your LinkedIn page and some recommendations we have, but LinkedIn Help Center is also very, very helpful. The other veterans organizations that help with transitioning and with employment, they are also going to know things about LinkedIn. Okay, so crowdsource your information and, get lots of people to help you, not just us. Okay. Career fairs, very quickly. When you are preparing for a career fair, find out who the employers are who are slated to be there and research them ahead of time so that you can talk about specifics. Maybe they don't have the job you want to do in your area, but you could still go talk to that recruiter and say, hey, X job in Norfolk is something I'm interested in, but I live in New Jersey. Do you ever have those opportunities available there? Okay, so that's what I mean by specifics. Reaching back to earlier in the conversation, you may have seen something in a news briefing or something like that they just recently had a contract approved. Okay, these are things you can talk to the recruiter about because this is so much better for you than walking up and saying, hi, what jobs do you have available for me? Something to keep in mind with recruiters at career fairs, their job is not to find you a job and put you into the job like that. Their job is to engage with prepared candidates who know what they want and who can bring them the information that they need and say, look, here's my resume. Here's the things I know about your job. This is what I want to do within this job that you have. And you guys make that connection that way. Okay. So prepare for any career fair that you are going to attend. Okay. Have your resume ready, whether it's a kind of a master resume or hopefully it could be a very tailored resume if you've done that research and you have landed on one of their job descriptions that you specifically want. Have your appearance ready as well. Okay. Here at APUS, we have virtual career fairs that do have the capability of having video, but it's not always going to happen, but still please be ready for it. Okay. Prepare the background. Don't be in your, Tommy Hilfiger pajamas. Be ready. Okay. Post-event, plan to connect with those recruiters. Okay. They are going to give you their contact information. Please connect with them. Please follow them. Please, reach out to them afterwards. Hey, Dave, you and I met at the APUS National Security Virtual Career Fair. We had a great conversation. I just wanted to connect with you. Thank you so much. Okay. Do something more than just attend the fair and then not follow up with the recruiter. Because again, you just never know. Okay. And with only 2 minutes to spare, that is the end of my presentation. I would definitely like to open it up to questions if anybody has any questions.
We got a question. How do we properly connect with you after this presentation?
Okay.
So, oh, go ahead.
Oh, hey, go for it, Taylor.
Oh,
It's your turn. You can talk.
okay. The best way to get in contact with us is reaching out. You can go on your eCampus and fill out a form to reach out with us that way. To schedule a career coaching appointment, you can reach out to us via email at careerservices@apus.edu. If you send us an email, just include your student ID number. That way we can verify your account and then the answer to 2 of your security questions. And then the industry coach will be in contact with you to assist you further.
Truly, please do reach out to us, especially if you are an alum, you've completed a program, please keep us in mind, okay? Lifetime career services eligibility. So our services and
Free.
resources, yes, free, yes, you're right, free, okay? But yeah, please do reach out to us. I hope that you've gathered from at least hearing from the 2 of us that we are friendly people. And we'd be happy to help everybody. Looking into intelligence careers. Yes. Okay. So for intelligence resources, that's definitely going to depend on if you mean private sector or federal. For the federal things, go to intelligencecareers.gov is a great place to start. Many of the intelligence agencies have posted information in there, and that's where they're going to have most of their information and interaction with you. So intelligencecareers.gov. Cleared Jobs is also a good place to go to look for jobs being posted for that. So Cleared Jobs, I'm sure those of you with a clearance have heard of it. So yes, go there. Within the private sector, it's if we're still talking about like Homeland Security, national security related stuff, that is going to be those federal contractors, those large federal contractors. So again, if you're paying attention to the news, you're going to hear some names, come to our virtual career fairs. We also have a lot of those contractors come as well for those in particular. Brittany, thank you very much. I super appreciate you putting that in there. So clearedjobs.net for those of you who are listening in and not looking at a screen, and clearedjobs.gov. Philip, you are also welcome to reach out to me. I am the Intelligence Career Coach, so please do send me a hello, and we'll get you on the schedule, do some intake, and talk about how I can help you, okay? So any advice on transition resumes / pivoting into another career field? Oh, yeah. Yes, we do have advice. Like I talked about in the kind of earlier on in the webinar, collect those job descriptions. Okay. So if you want to switch, whether you want to switch or you want to stay, okay, in your career field, collect the job descriptions, 5 to 10 of them. It doesn't immediately matter if it's not specifically in your area, if you can only find 2, and then you kind of have to expand out across the United States or something like that. Compare and contrast those job descriptions. That's going to give you kind of a general idea of what they're looking for, okay? If all 10 of them want you to have at least a bachelor's degree, then you probably need to be completed with a bachelor's degree or almost done, okay? If only 2 of them say that you need a bachelor's degree and the other ones don't mention it, maybe you don't need it so much, but maybe it's an extra, like gives you extra credit for those people who don't necessarily require one, but you have one anyway, okay? So that is how you can start to get kind of a baseline idea of what are you going to need to talk about in those resumes, okay? What kinds of qualifications are you going to need to be able to meet to be considered a qualified and hopefully, fingers crossed, best qualified candidate for that role, okay? Within the private sector, something to keep in mind is what I personally recommend is if somebody is at least 60% qualified according to the qualifications that your private sector employer is asking for, and you aren't missing something critical, like if you need to have a CDL truck driving license to have that job and you don't have one, okay, that's critical. So if you have at least 60% of the asked for qualifications and you are not missing something critical, I would encourage you to apply anyway. Let them be the one to tell you no. A job description, a job announcement in the private sector, okay, is oftentimes a wish list. It's a nice to have. This is somebody who is fully qualified for this job. Once we have you on board and we've trained you and you're getting your experience, these are all the things you're going to be doing. Okay. So they don't necessarily expect candidates to have all of those things. Okay. So that is something to keep in mind in the private sector. For those of you who are interested in federal positions, you must meet all of the minimum requirements in order to be qualified for that job. If you are finding that job posting on usajobs.gov and you are missing one of the requirements, please keep searching. Please do not spend the time tailoring your resume. You are not qualified. They cannot hire you no matter how much they love you. Okay? So, federal, you have to talk about all of the minimum requirements that you meet in your resume. The federal resumes, going through a job opportunity announcement on usajobs.gov, that is one of those group coaching sessions that I host throughout the year, at least once a month, if not twice a month. We don't have any on the calendar right now looking ahead into the holiday season, but as of 2024, we are going to start resuming our sessions more in fervor. I don't know. I'm sure there's a phrase there I could have used. But yeah, keep an eye on that link that we dropped, the career services events, because those will start ramping back up after the new year.